the reason why people should allocate their super into Bitcoin under an SMSF structure. And this comes back to the fundamentals of the monetary system is fundamentally broken, okay? Inflation is out of control. The currency is being debased, meaning the government just prints money willy-nilly, which dilutes the value of your cash.
Yep.
And if you just look at it from a numbers perspective, the average super is doing 7-8% roughly over the last 20 years per annum.
Yep.
Bitcoin is doing 40-50% per annum. And people will say, well, look, that was great, Matt. It did that over the last 15 years. But what it's no indication of the future projections.
Of course.
Well,
yep.
There's people in this space who are much smarter than me who are saying that the forecast for the next 20 years, which is considered the gold rush period of Bitcoin, will be minimum, base case, 29% CAGR, compounding annual growth rate,
Yep.
29%, up to 50-60%.
Over the next 20 years.
Over the next 20 years. Now, it works perfectly for me because I'm now 46, so let's say retirement mid-60s, thereabouts, right?
Yep.
So I've got 20 years of extremely high, solid growth ahead.
Compound growth.
Yeah. And if you think about, all I have to do really is do better than, let's say, 10%. If I could do 10% in Bitcoin, I've really lost nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it would have done that roughly in super.
Yeah. And I guess Bitcoin can do that in, a matter of days.
Well, it can. Yeah. So people talk about there's a lot of volatility in Bitcoin and the crypto space. And just to be clear for people listening, Bitcoin is in its own category.
Yep.
And then there's everything else.
Right.
Okay. So we're just talking about Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin
it's like the anchor currency or the anchor.
Yeah, it's because people they think, oh, Bitcoin's the same as XRP or Bitcoin's the same as Solana. They're completely different.
Right.
Okay. Bitcoin is Bitcoin. There's a market. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins produced.
Yep.
Okay. And as of the day of recording now, it's sitting at around 140,000 Australian dollars or 92 odd USD.
Yep.
Okay. You can actually break up one Bitcoin into 100 million Satoshis. It's like breaking $1 into 100 cents.
Yep.
Okay. So one Bitcoin into 100 million Satoshis. So people make the mistake thinking, I can't afford one Bitcoin at 140,000 Australian dollars.
But they can buy a fraction.
They think I can buy an XRP token for $3. So I can get a lot of those.
Right.
Okay. But they're completely different.
Yep.
Okay.
You're better off buying maybe a fraction of a Bitcoin as opposed to.
You can buy fractions of Bitcoins.
Yep.
Yeah. And Bitcoin is decentralized. There's no issuer. Yep. Decentralized meaning no one controls Bitcoin.
Yep.
There's only actually there's a $2 trillion market cap roughly on Bitcoin globally. Once an asset class reaches 2 trillion plus, history shows it never disappears. So this is not an asset class that is going to go to zero. You've got the US president right now who's fully on board with Bitcoin and crypto. All the major banks now in the US, Troy, they are now going to not only custody Bitcoin. This is the JP Morgans, the Bank of America's, Morgan Stanley's. They will also not only custody the Bitcoin, they will lend you cash dollars against the Bitcoin.
Wow.
So just like in Australia, if you've got a property, you can lend against the property with the banks. This is happening now already. This is actually already happening now in Australia. You can do it, not with major banks though, but with smaller institutions. But the major banks in America are going to do it, if not already now, which will flow into Australia very, very soon anyway.
Just quickly, guys, if you're a busy professional, fed up with traditional super funds and overwhelmed by the setup of your SMSF, we can help. Book in a call with my team using the link in the show notes and let's build your future on your terms. Now, back to the episode.
And the question is, why would you allocate to Bitcoin in an SMSF, right? Now, the reason why is because, Troy, most people are freaking broke.
Yep.
We are living in a cost of living crisis.
It's incredible. You're right. It is a cost of living crisis. It's so expensive. Cost of living is just, I was talking to my uncle on the way down here in the car and who's in his 70s and we're talking about cost of living and it's just crazy what, we're talking about real estate, what it was worth back in the 70s and just fast forwarding to today. And you're right. It's just, it's crazy.
I don't know how people survive. at all.
Yeah,
it doesn't surprise me that the homeless rate is so high.
No,
right? Because you cannot afford to literally live like in just a rental, pay the electricity, food, and all the other hoo-ha that goes along with it.
Yep.
And so the reason why allocating to Bitcoin within your super, let's call it, is because it's the lowest hanging fruit. It's something that you can tap into now, allocate to, and it doesn't come out of your own pocket.
Yep.
Right. And so you could ask someone, hey, we're in a cost of living crisis. You should go and buy Bitcoin. They're like, I've got no freaking money. I don't have any money left over. I'm flat out paying for the groceries and the fuel and the rent. Okay, that's fine. You can now allocate your super to Bitcoin and you can't touch it anyway. So it's not like, you can just allocate it into your super SMSF and then start spending the Bitcoin. It's going to sit there for the next, depending on how old you are, if you're like me, the next 10, 15, 20 years anyway.
Yep.
And the thing is too, Troy, is that they're not going to survive otherwise. I actually do believe that allocating to Bitcoin is the life raft that people need right now, because the average person my age has got something, you probably know the numbers, but I believe it's somewhere around the $250,000 they've got in their super.
Yep.
Troy, they are screwed, right? They are not going to have enough money to live the lifestyle that they think they're going to be able to live.
Yep.
Yeah, when they retire at 60.
Yep.
You go and speak to the average person, they think they're just going to retire at 60, they're going to get the caravan and the boat and pay off the house, go on overseas holidays once a year or twice a year. And that's just not the reality. They will not. They probably won't be able to retire.
Yep.
To be honest.
A lot of, you see a lot of, even, clients in this, you see a lot of Aussies in their 70s are still working. A lot of these guys are just, mums and dads that can't afford to retire. They're still working in their 70s and even into their even in their 80s. It's like, these poor Aussies that have worked their whole life, they just can't afford to retire because they haven't got enough in super. They, obviously the superannuation didn't kick in till later in their working life, so they haven't accumulated enough, and the cost of living and the list goes on. So you're right. It's just there is definitely a.
So the choice for them right now is they do nothing and they leave their super in the current superannuation fund. And I'm going to get to something else later about why that's under threat. And they can't retire when they want to, or they allocate to Bitcoin. And even if they had 250,000 and they said, you know what, I don't know, I don't have the conviction level that you have, Matt, they could just pull out 100,000 of their 250 and allocate
and just
that.
have a bit of diversification.
They could diversify. They don't have to do full gung-ho like what I've done.
Yep.
And that 100,000 in Bitcoin will actually grow to something quite substantial. In fact, I think for the audience, this always goes down a treat, Troy. We should actually just do the numbers because people are going to be like blown away because people want to hear the actual numbers of what it could possibly be. Let's say they had put $100,000 and let's go back to 29% over the next 20 years. And let's pretend they didn't put a single cent more in, right? They just put $100,000 into an SMSF, allocated it to Bitcoin and just let it compound.
Yep.
Yeah. At 29%, you're talking $16 million.
What? Wow. That's incredible.
$16 million. Let's say that 29% base case that I gave before was actually way low. What if it actually did what we expected to do, which is 50% compounding? This is still 20 years. This is going to blow your way. $332 million.
No way.
You don't even put a single more cent in. That's it. So now people who are listening to this are going to be like, baby, we need to allocate to Bitcoin.
We're going to back the truck up, baby.
We need to back that truck up right now. And so this is, and let's just say they didn't even have that level of conviction, $50,000 at 29% over 20 years. We're still talking $8.1 million.
It's more than, a lot more than most people ever retire on.
A lot more. You'll be like in the top 1% of people retiring, basically, right?
And that's just putting 50 grand in.
That's right. And I think people don't understand too is what they could actually do is, yes, they could roll all of their funds over into the SMSF. But if they wanted to, they could just say, you know what, let's keep the 200,000 in our standard super fund and just let that tick over. We'll set up an SMSF and allocate 50 grand into Bitcoin. Now, is that possible, Troy? Could you do that? Because I've seen people do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can have an SMSF and keep your existing retail or industry fund. And well, sometimes people they'll set up an SMSF and they'll do their investing that way, whether it be crypto or whether it be direct property or something like that, and then they'll keep their existing super funds running and open, and then that way they can they can compare how their each one is performing. Hey guys, just a quick disclaimer and just a reminder that this is not personal advice. So make sure you speak with a licensed advisor before making any investment decision. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of SMSF Insider. If you got value from this, make sure you subscribe so you never miss the strategies we share to help you take control of your financial future. Find us on socials at Blue Chip SMSF or book a call with our team to see if we can help you.